Good morning, YouTubers, and I hope this video doesn't cut my head off. This is Steve Bradley coming to you from the God Loves People YouTube channel. And today I want to talk about Revelation chapter 14. Revelation 14 is a very important chapter. It has a lot to say to us because when you get to the end of chapter 13, it looks as if the beast and the dragon are in total control of the world. Absolute and complete control. You can't buy or sell without their permission. You have to take the mark or you die. Christians are hounded and persecuted and chased and killed. All of that's happening. Then suddenly we get to Revelation 14 and the scene switches to heaven. And John says, "Then I looked, and behold, a Lamb standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000 having his Father's name written on their foreheads." Now this is probably the same 144,000 as we see in Revelation chapter 7, where they are selected. And these people have probably been translated, similar to what we believe happens at the rapture of the church. They've probably been translated to heaven, like Enoch, like Elijah, so that they're no longer on the earth. They could be martyrs, but it doesn't say so. And so they sing this new song before the throne, before the living creatures and the elders, and no one could learn that song except the 144,000 who were redeemed from the earth. So here they are in heaven, and suddenly we realize that even though on earth things look so incredibly grim, God is in control. So this happens during the final 3.5 years, and part of Revelation 14 is descriptive, and part of it is prospective. In other words, it talks about a time future, even to the time that John saw the 144,000. So the first thing that we see here is that God is in control. The saints, the scene shifts to heaven, and it's the same as Revelation 7. And then the next thing that we see is the proclamations of 3 angels. Now this is very fascinating, because when there's no more preaching of the gospel in the world by humans because they're hounded and killed whenever they try, God sends an angel, and he flies through mid-heaven, and you can't touch him. He's still going to talk about God, the true Father, the one true God, and Jesus Christ, his Son. And here's what it says. "Then I saw another angel flying in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach to those who dwell on the earth, to every nation, tribe, tongue, and people." So he is going to preach the gospel. And he is commanding everyone to fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment has come. Worship him who made heaven and earth, the sea, and the springs of water. So that's the first angel. The second angel, now this is probably where it gets prospective. Another angel followed, saying, "Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she has made all the nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication." So here is this town that we haven't heard of before, and we're going to see a lot more about it in Revelation, later on in Revelation. But this city, huge city, is fallen. And then a third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, "If anyone worships the beast and his image, and receives his mark on his forehead or on his hand, he himself shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out full strength into the cup of his indignation," and so on. And describes what happens to the people who worship the beast and the dragon and receive the mark. So we have the gospel provided, a warning about the death of the destruction of Babylon, and then a final warning about receiving the mark of the beast. This is an incredibly important statement, because on the one hand you have the offer of salvation, and on the other hand you have the warning of judgment. And just as salvation is true, so is judgment. It will come. And if you receive the mark, you will be destroyed. That's what he's saying. Interestingly enough, there is also a couple of harvests in this chapter. Or I should say there are also a couple of harvests in this chapter. It says, "Then I looked," in Revelation 14:14, "and behold a white cloud, and on the cloud sat one like the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. Another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him who sat on the cloud, Thrust in your sickle and reap, for the time has come for you to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe." So, he who sat on the cloud, that is probably the Lord Jesus Christ, thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. That, I believe, is the final harvest of souls. That is, the believers who will go to heaven with Jesus Christ, with the Father, who have listened to the angel flying in the midst of heaven, and who have heard the final proclamation of the gospel. The next reaping comes for those who have taken the mark of the beast. Then another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, and he had a sharp sickle. So in the first case, it's the Son of Man who has the sickle. In the second case, it's the angel. And another angel came out from the altar who had power over fire, and he cried with a loud cry to him who had the sharp sickle, saying, "Thrust in your sharp sickle and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe." So the angel thrust his sickle into the earth and gathered the vine of the earth and threw it into the great winepress of the wrath of God. So this is probably a prospective statement, and it's probably a description of the final moments of the Battle of Armageddon. The winepress was trampled outside the city, and blood came up out of the winepress up to the horses' bridles for 1,600 furlongs, and some Bibles say stadia, but the distance is about 184 miles. It's this incredible slaughter that occurs at the end of the book of Revelation, in Revelation chapter 19, and this is a prospective statement about it. So suddenly, from Revelation chapter 13, where it talks about how great the beast is and how all people worship him, and everyone who is not a believer or who doesn't become a believer takes the mark, and how all the believers are persecuted and killed. And that lasts for a while, and then all of a sudden we see the Lamb and the 144,000, and we see them in heaven, and we see suddenly that God is actually in control. He's running the show, folks. He knows what's going to happen because he's going to make it happen. So here are the things, just to summarize, that God does in this chapter. The first thing is the 144,000 are seen in heaven, and they're probably seen there because they've been translated to heaven. The second thing is the angelic messengers. So we have the three messengers, one with the good news, one with the announcement that Babylon has fallen, one with the warning that you better not take the mark or you're going to be destroyed, you're going to go to the lake of fire. It says, if you take that mark, you yourself will drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out full strength into the cup of his indignation. Ouch. That's not good. On the other hand, you have the mercy of God offered to you if you worship the living and true God. And so then you have the announcement that Babylon's fallen, the warning, don't take the mark, and finally you have the two harvests. And those harvests are probably prospective from this point on. The first harvest is the result of the angelic messenger announcing the true gospel, the everlasting gospel, as it says in the Bible, to everyone. And the second harvest is the harvest of the grapes of the wrath of God, which is the harvest that destroys all the people who have taken the mark. This is one of those times where everything kind of is so final. And if you think about it, that's what the book of Revelation really is. It's final.